Welcome back to the Corner Perspective. Hi, I'm Bruce Spangler, CEO of the Volunteer Ministry Center. Located at the corner of Fifth Avenue and Broadway, the Volunteer Ministry Center is dedicated to ending and preventing homelessness in our community. Today, I am honored and privileged to be with Chief David Rausch with the Knoxville Police Department. Chief Rausch, delighted to have you here today. I know that you've been a longtime supporter of the Volunteer Ministry Center. And at the same time, I know that in terms of your work, that our work and your work often kind of connects. Intersects.
Yes. Yes.
In many ways. Tell me a little bit about your. I use passion, but
Absolutely.
why interest in this?
Well, I think number one is years ago when I started to get engaged with the VMC itself. Clearly I saw that we have this need in our community to serve those the least of these, and based on that understanding of the work I do in the community as a police officer, we're always looking for resources that are effective and that work to try to solve problems. I was drawn to the VMC and started having conversations with those who knew about the VMC, and then having conversations with those who were working here. And what I learned immediately is that our philosophies gel. One of the main things is about accountability, right? And so it's huge to us in law enforcement, and it's huge to the VMC. Is people being accountable, and accountability is not what everybody automatically assumes.
Sure,
right?
Sure.
It's accountability to yourself.
Correct.
Right, and then being able to be accountable to others after you're accountable to yourself. And so, the mission of the VMC struck me as one that's vital. And then so early on we were following the old model. And we were doing a lot of triage.
Sure.
Right. And that changed.
And I can imagine a lot of that triage with folks who were presenting with mental health issues.
Yeah, absolutely. While not everyone homeless has a mental health issue.
Absolutely.
There is a large portion that does present that way, and so those challenges come to us, and then we started to try to figure out how do we handle these. And again, another reason why I got involved in VMC is because a staff that's trained to handle those that have that issue.
Well, and now your staff, your officers are trained. I call it CIT, Critical Intervention Teams.
Right.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Crisis intervention training actually started back in the early 80s in Memphis. Mm-hmm. And so what we learned from we've watched how Memphis has handled it. It was a result of a very tragic incident where a mentally ill person lost their life because of an officer not understanding what they were dealing with. And so it actually started back then. We kind of adopted that model and started looking at that model in the mid 90s. Mid to late 90s, and then we've adopted that model now fully in Knoxville. And it's important because what it does is it trains officers in the recognition of a person in a mental health crisis, and then it also gives them the skill set to communicate with that person, and then to provide connective services. Right. So the answer isn't always take them to jail.
Absolutely.
And so what CIT does is it gives us one that makes us knowledgeable about what's available. What are the resources available for those who we are interacting with, encountering on the street that are in crisis? And so it really is kind of that next step above training in communication more than anything.
Right. Your officers have been great to respond, because oftentimes we'll call and say, can a CIT officer at least come or accompany the officer? And it's just been very, very effective. Well, Chief Rausch, our community is honored to have you in this leadership position, and VMC is not only honored, but they are privileged to have you working with us, and just really appreciate your community efforts and the way in which I mean, you're part of ending and preventing homelessness in our community, and I'm grateful for that.
Well, I love the opportunity, and it's my privilege and my honor to serve this community, and especially to serve with the fine folks here at VMC. As we talk all the time, it's really it's that servant heart of understanding that there by the grace of God go I, and so our role really is to try to help those who we realize there could be us. And do everything we can to help the least of these.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Really appreciate you coming by and doing this for us. Well, thank you for joining me on this episode of The Corner Perspective, and I hope that you'll join us next time.